Hello, and welcome to a rather special kind of video, because as of today, it is the overall 30th anniversary of my all-time favorite movie, Jurassic Park. And what better way to celebrate Jurassic Park's 30th birthday than by doing my first ever ranking of the entire Jurassic Park World franchise, going from worst to best, even though you already predicted what number one's gonna be. But without further ado, and coming in dead last is Jurassic Park 3, a movie that, even though I say it's the worst of the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World franchise, I really don't think it's bad by any means. Even at its worst or at its best, I think the movie is all around okay. With that said, what the movie gets right is that, because of its short run time, the movie moves at a very brisk pace. The story is very straightforward in that sense, where it's just people crash land on an island filled with dinosaurs, get chased by dinosaurs for 90 minutes, always some fun to be had there, and the Spinosaurus makes a great addition to the franchise. And where the movie begins to fall apart is that the movie's biggest problem is that it's ultimately directionless, or if it had any sort of direction, it felt like it was lost along the way. Because if you ever look up early concepts for the movie, or even look at concept art for the posters, it seemed as if the movie was supposed to be a lot darker than what we ended up with. And on top of that, the movie ends on a very anticlimactic note in terms of how it wraps up the narrative. And the movie does include some material that was featured in the first book that never got adapted into the first movie, that being the scene with the birdcage along with the river raft scene, just replaced the T-Rex with the Spinosaurus, resulted in a movie that ultimately felt like a cash grab on the franchise instead of a proper third installment. And coming in fifth place is Jurassic World Dominion, and I'm also including its extended cut as well. Now, what this movie ultimately gets right, for me personally, I found a lot of the action scenes to be fairly entertaining. I do think that it was really cool to see the cast of the older movies meet with the cast of the newer movies, and I do love the amount of not just dinosaurs but prehistoric creatures that show up throughout the movie. And as far as the extended cut is concerned, it does address some of the problems that I had with the theatrical cut, and does bring back that really beautiful prologue that was sorely missing in the theatrical cut. And the reason why I ultimately put this movie above Jurassic Park 3 is that it had direction, it just wasn't the direction that most people were expecting, given that I think a lot of people were expecting something akin to the card game of Dinosaurs Attack, in which you have mankind battling dinosaurs around the world. Instead, we get a science thriller. That said, however, the movie has a ton of problems, but if I had to narrow down what problems really plagued the movie the most, the central plot point that gets both the plot with the main cast and the newer cast of the movie moving forward that leads to them joining forces are not dinosaurs, but a giant swarm of locusts. The script itself needed a few more rewrites because it never really felt like a proper movie. If anything, it felt more like a fan fiction. And the movie did bug me anytime it had certain callbacks to any of the past installments, especially to the original movie. But I think the biggest problem that plagues this movie the most is that all of the characters have plot armor that is so thick it kills off any suspense whatsoever. Look no further than the scene where they get attacked by the Giganotosaurus. No one dies, and no one gets injured. So overall, Jurassic World Dominion is the Rise of Skywalker of the Jurassic World, Jurassic Park franchise. And coming in fourth place is The Lost World Jurassic Park, a movie that many people at the time considered to be a disappointing follow-up to the original Jurassic Park movie, but as time progressed, a lot of people started warming up to this movie in comparison to some of the later sequels that had come out. And even though this movie is nothing like its book, I still think it is a fun follow-up to the original Jurassic Park movie, in that sense where you have a decent cast of actors, you have a really fun setup about InGen trying to capture a bunch of dinosaurs and bring them to the mainland. There's also a lot of fun set pieces revolved around all of the dinosaurs, especially the climax in the movie where you have a T-Rex going on a rampage in San Diego, where on top of it being a fun action scene, it's also very surreal to see one of those kind of animals in that kind of environment. Although my problems with this installment are that Steven Spielberg's overall direction, it felt like he was trying to make this darker than the original Jurassic Park movie, but he also wanted to recapture the magic of the first movie, since Jurassic Park could be whimsical but scary at times. I feel like he tried to double down on that here, and it didn't quite work out as well. And to add on top of that, because Spielberg tried to tell a much darker story here, there's this sort of unpleasantness presented throughout the movie in terms of both its tone and visual aesthetics. And I know that moving past this movie, a lot of the characters in certain installments make a lot of stupid decisions, but for some reason, when a character makes a stupid decision in this movie, it honestly really bugs me. Because I did find a good majority of the characters in this movie to be very unlikable. But nothing is as stupid as the brontosaurus-sized plot hole that is what killed the crew on the ship that carried the T-Rex to San Diego. Because it feels like there was a scene missing here, and rumor has it that allegedly there was going to be a part where a velociraptor snuck on board and killed all the crew members, but it was never filmed. Now, whether or not this is true, I have no idea. With that all said, I find The Lost World Jurassic Park to be a fun creature feature that's a little too unpleasant for its own good. And coming in third place is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, an installment of the franchise that I know a lot of people don't like, but to me, it's one of the better installments. For the simple reason that I feel Fallen Kingdom succeeds where The Lost World Jurassic Park failed, in terms of taking the general concepts that movie was trying to do, but perfected them in this particular installment. And on top of that, this is also a very different kind of movie, because it's not so much a Jurassic World or even Jurassic Park movie. Fallen Kingdom honestly feels like a two-part homage, in that sense where the first half feels like one big homage to dinosaur B-movies from the 1960s, 1970s, whereas the second half of the movie felt like an homage to a lot of gothic horror movies from the same time period, in that sense where the movie really embraces the tropes from both dinosaur B-movies along with gothic horror movies. And although I have a lot of problems with the movie, but if you want to know my full thoughts, you can check out my review of Fallen Kingdom. And coming in second place is Jurassic World, an installment of the franchise that many consider to be the second best behind the original Jurassic Park, which I concur with. Because for me, Jurassic World is the 2014 Godzilla movie I wanted to see as opposed to the one we got. But not only that, the movie actually has a pretty unique setting in that sense where it actually takes place at a fully realized theme park, where you have the likes of gift shops, restaurants, rides, zoos, and not only that, but what makes it truly special is how meta the movie is, in that sense where it asks the question, how can we stay relevant? And I'm not talking about both within and outside of the movie. And what better way to ask that question than by introducing an element I always wanted to see in a Jurassic Park movie since I was a little kid, that being the introduction of a hybrid dinosaur in the form of the Indominus Rex, which I think makes for a great one-time antagonist. Not only that, but this movie also features one of the best climaxes the franchise has to offer. And much like Fallen Kingdom, I also have my fair share of problems with this movie, but if you want to know my full thoughts, again, I'll also leave a link to the description to my review down below. And coming in at number one is, not surprisingly, Jurassic Park, the movie that started it all. And do I really even need to say anything about Jurassic Park itself? I mean, it's Jurassic Park. What else do I need to say about it that hasn't already been said already? And on top of that, I already talked a great deal about this movie in one of my previous videos, which I will leave in a link in the description down below. And with it being the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park itself, what's been your favorite moment within the entire franchise, and how would you rank all of the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movies? And see you later.